Mike Naso here from IPR365.com and podweather.com with an update on the tropics. And we do have a new tropical storm out there that has quickly spun up in the Caribbean Sea. However, it is that time of year. You can see there in the Caribbean sits Tropical Storm Gustav directly south of Hispaniola. And let me tell you, if there is a region that does not need another storm, it is this entire region that has been soaked by Tropical Storm Faye, which we still have the remnants of Faye sitting here over the Gulf Coast I'll talk about. Elsewhere, we do have an interesting tropical wave, which has been Invest 95L out here, not showing any signs of development, but two interesting tropical waves behind that moving off, and we could well see tropical cyclone formation from these. Here's the latest on Gustav. Again, Recon went out there this morning and found a depression. It quickly spun up. As of 5 p.m., it is a 60-mile-an-hour tropical storm centered at 16.3 north, 71.0 west. Winds are gusting close to hurricane force. That movement's northwest at 14. For some reason, these maps show it 1 mile an hour less than it is, but 13, 14 miles an hour towards the northwest, 996 millibars. And you can see the track here through time is sometime tomorrow morning making landfall in Haiti as a hurricane, Category 1, and then maintaining hurricane strength until Wednesday afternoon and making landfall as a Category 1 hurricane on the southeast coast of Cuba. And then as the high pressure, that clockwise flow of high pressure starts to build back in, we will get Gustav weakening as it moves over Cuba towards the west. But note the uncertainty. If it moves further east, it could be a lot weaker in the short term, but then come out over a lot of water in the long term. If it moves to the left of this track, it could be a massive hurricane over these very, very hot waters and favorable conditions. So, again, there is uncertainty. If it makes a hard left turn after impacting Haiti, it could be over water for quite a while before impacting Cuba. So there is a lot of uncertainty with this. You can see the wind field right now isn't all that large and isn't impacting any land, but it will be over the next, say, 24 hours or so. Here's the visible satellite loop, and you can see earlier there was an eye wall reported by Recon. You can see that little spot there. However, that's since kind of degraded, and we now have just a general organizing tropical storm, but definitely good curvature, good convection, good low-level circulation, something some of these storms this past hurricane season have not been able to develop as quick as Gustav, as they'd suffered with a mid-level center, but this one has a low-level circulation right in this region here, and if it continues that northwest motion, it will be impacting Haiti. Again, you could already see the rainfall over the Dominican Republic. Not good news at all. You do not need more rainfall there, as Faye really soaked areas of the Dominican Republic and Haiti with a lot of heavy rain and caused a lot of deaths in that region. Here's the radar, long-range radar out of the Dominican Republic, and look down here, see the circulation center. That is an inner core. Okay, so Gustav does have a well-defined inner core, and as long as it has that inner core, it can spin up or down very quickly. So if it organizes, it's kind of had a bump this afternoon at 60 miles an hour, should be able to organize into a hurricane and continue in that motion generally towards the west-northwest. But if this is the developing eye wall here, which it appears to be, then Gustav could well be on his way to becoming a hurricane, and that is not good news. Now here is the general model guidance, the spaghetti model plots as they're called. And you can see the no-gaps model here takes it straight up into the Dominican Republic and way out here into the western Atlantic away from land. And the only landmass it would affect then would be Bermuda. That is well to the right of the forecast. The Canadian model initializes Gustav well away from where the center of circulation clearly is, so that can't be taken into account well. You can see the H-Wharf model has it striking Haiti, then moving west-southwest as the ridge builds in, then eventually curving around. And the GFDL is pretty close to that, moving it into Cuba, then a little bit south, and then back to the west-northwest into the southeastern Gulf of Mexico. The BAM models are down here towards the Yucatan, and we do, of course, have the consensus of all the models, which would be over Haiti, then over Cuba, then up towards South Florida. However, let's look into a few of the models a little bit deeply. This is the H-Wharf model, and in 24 hours it shows Gustav as a hurricane just about over Haiti, a Category 2 hurricane actually, 100 miles an hour. Then by 72 hours, Gustav is a moderate tropical storm, clearly weakened south of eastern Cuba. But then right around 120 hours, it's moved along the south coast of Cuba over water enough to become a powerful Category 3 hurricane striking western Cuba. The GFDL is similar, but a little bit more realistic. It shows in about 24 hours Gustav as a moderate tropical storm over Haiti, which seems plausible, and then by about 48 hours a moderate tropical storm interacting with Cuba, and then by about 72 hours it becomes a strong storm as it leaves Cuba and gets a little bit pushed to the southwest because we do have that building ridge to the north of it. And then it becomes a powerful Category 3 hurricane, strikes Cuba, and moves into the eastern Gulf of Mexico as a 90 knot or 105 mile an hour hurricane. That seems rather realistic at this time, and I think the Hurricane Center has indicated that this model, they take a lot into account with the models, and this one could be one of the ones that pans out correctly. You can see the Canadian in here in 5 days has it over Cuba. That seems way too slow considering it's already there. Note the other system it has to the north here. And the NOGAPS also in 5 days has whatever they have of Gustav over Cuba. That seems way too slow as well. Now, as far as strengthening is concerned, it's all dependent on the land because you can see, note these blues and blacks, this is a very favorable low shear environment. We are in late August, and the peak of the hurricane season is about September 10th. So we're approaching it, and as long as Gustav stays over water, with that inner core already being a moderate to strong tropical storm, Gustav can strengthen, which is why it is forecast to become a hurricane before it strikes Haiti and before it strikes Cuba. But again, if that track bends south and it stays over water, not only could it become a hurricane, it could become a significant hurricane as the models show. And even in the Gulf of Mexico, the wind shear looks pretty low. You can zoom in on that and see that as long as it stays anywhere within here, it's going to have very, very low wind shear to deal with, at least for the next 4 or 5 days. Now, as far as sea surface temperatures, they're excruciatingly warm south of Cuba and around this region. And again, you can see up here the upwelling from Faye sitting off Cape Canaveral and Daytona Beach, and then up here near the Big Bend and the Gulf Coast, you can see that upwelling. That may come in handy when if Gustav makes its way as a major hurricane up towards the Gulf Coast. Those cooler shelf waters might be able to weaken it some, but again, we're talking if it's a strong hurricane and if it's in this area, a lot of time to watch that. In the meantime, there is nothing except land preventing Gustav from not only becoming a hurricane, but becoming a very dangerous hurricane before it impacts Cuba, and potentially even the Florida Keys and the Bahamas need to watch this carefully. Now over the southeast U.S., you know who this is. This is Faye. We've been dealing with Faye spinning out here, a lot of moisture still being pumped in with that warm Gulf energy, and you can see clearly right there, still in areas of Alabama and Georgia and South Carolina feeling the impact of Faye as it sits around, and that could have some tug on Gustav, but with the rebuilding ridge, that should then push Gustav further west. Further out, you can see Gustav sitting right there, and we do have Invest 95L, or at least what's left of it. It's kind of hard to ascertain where it is, given the outflow here of Gustav and the disorganization. We'll watch as it moves west. It is a big mess, and they could always come back. This is a little tropical system in here that we're going to have to watch because it is showing some signs of life as it moves towards the west. And then further off Africa, you can see here, there's our system I just mentioned, and there's a big wave moving off. This could do something. It is August 25th. You always have to be on the lookout for tropical cyclone formation. Finally, in the eastern Pacific, see this little blob up here, this well-organized spin. This is Tropical Storm Julio. As of 5 p.m., Julio is at 27.5 north, 112.4 west, 40-mile-an-hour winds gusting to 50, moving north-northwest at 11. 1,000 millibars, and it's expected to weaken to a depression, but it could bring moisture the next several days into the southwestern United States, and you can see that even better already. Still some good bursting there taking place right near the center, and the cloud shield already starting to extend into areas of Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona over the next several days. The western Pacific's quiet except for this ominous little blob. Watch this if you're in the Philippines and Taiwan. I'm Mike Naso from Internet Partnership Radio and podweather.com. Stay tuned. I'll have more next time.